What if the greatest form of strength isn't in how much you share, but in how much you choose to protect? What if the quiet power of mystery isn't about hiding who you are, but about preserving the sacred spaces of your soul from a world too quick to consume them? Imagine realizing that by guarding your story, your dreams, and your peace, you're not shutting the world out. You're choosing to live with deeper purpose, clarity, and strength. Welcome to a truth few dare to embrace. In a world obsessed with oversharing, true power belongs to those who move with discretion, dignity, and divine intention. Don't let people know too much about you. Protect your peace. By Billy Graham. YouTube, when you think about the power of mystery, think about how it shapes not just your life, but your influence over others. The world is constantly pulling us in every direction, demanding that we share, reveal, and expose ourselves. But what if just for a moment we stopped? What if we chose to withhold just a little of what people expect to know? The truth is, mystery is one of the most powerful tools you have. It's like holding a key that not many others have. When you keep something hidden, when you don't lay it all out on the table, you keep your strength close to you. You control the narrative. You protect the energy you give to others. Think about the people you admire the most. The ones who seem to always have a certain aura around them. They don't reveal everything. They don't need to. They walk in strength because they know when to speak and when to stay silent. That's not a coincidence. Mystery is a form of power. The more you reveal, the more people feel entitled to ask for more, and soon you've lost control over your own story. People can only know what you allow them to. The less they know, the more you hold the cards, the more you're in control of your own destiny. Now, I know it's easy to get caught up in the need for validation. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to share our thoughts, our moments, our struggles, and our victories. Social media has made it almost a requirement to constantly be visible. We post, we share, we talk, and we expose parts of our lives that shouldn't be public. And while there's nothing wrong with sharing in the right context, we must be careful. What we give to others can easily be used against us. It can be twisted, misinterpreted, or used to make us feel small. When you open up too much, you open yourself up to things you might not be ready for, and things you can't take back. You see, mystery doesn't mean secrecy. It means discretion. It means you know where to draw the line between what's necessary for others to know and what's meant to be kept for yourself by controlling how much you reveal. You create a space for yourself that's not dictated by the opinions or expectations of others. You make your presence felt without making yourself too accessible, and that makes you powerful. People respect what they can't fully see. They respect what they can't easily have. You are more valuable when you aren't on display all the time. Let me remind you, the strongest people I know are not the ones who spill every detail of their lives. They are the ones who keep some parts of their story close to their chest. They are the ones who know that some things, deep personal things, are too sacred to be shared with just anyone. They know that there's strength in silence. There's power in keeping your cards hidden, and in some cases playing the game quietly. When you maintain a sense of mystery, you build a magnetic energy around you. It draws people in, but it also keeps them at a distance. It makes them curious, but it also keeps them respectful. The more you expose yourself, the more you risk others taking what's yours. But when you hold back, when you choose to keep certain things to yourself, you protect your inner world, your peace, your sense of self. You stop living for the approval of others and start living for your own purpose. And let me tell you, this isn't just about personal relationships. This applies to every area of your life, your work, your ministry, your ambitions, everything. You don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to make yourself vulnerable to every situation or every person. You have the power to decide what to share and when to share it. And when you start living like that, when you start holding your power, not everyone will understand. But that's okay. Not everyone is supposed to. You don't owe anyone your vulnerability. You owe it to yourself to protect your heart and your purpose. When you embrace mystery, you embrace the strength that comes from knowing that you don't need to reveal everything to make an impact. You can walk with authority without saying a word. And that, my friends, is power. When you understand the importance of boundaries, you understand how to protect your heart, your mind, and your peace. Boundaries are not about building walls around yourself. They are about building a fence of respect around your life. You're not shutting people out. You're teaching them how to treat you. The truth is, if you don't set boundaries, people will set them for you. And when they do, it's not always in your favor. Let's talk about this for a moment. Every relationship, whether personal or professional, is a delicate balance. The moment you allow others to cross lines that you've never defined, you open yourself up to being taken advantage of. You start to lose control over your own life. You begin to give more than you should, and in return, you get less than you deserve. It's like giving someone the keys to your house without ever asking if they plan to respect the space inside. You wouldn't do that with your home. So why would you do it with your life-setting boundaries? Is not about being selfish. It's about being wise. It's about knowing your worth and understanding that you don't need to share everything with everyone. It's about knowing when to say no and when to say yes. And let me tell you, saying no is just as important as saying yes. Because when you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to your own well-being. You're saying yes to your peace of mind, your personal growth, and your energy. When you fail to set boundaries, you give other people the right to take those things from you. Some of you might be thinking, but if I set boundaries, won't people think I'm being rude? Or won't they feel rejected? And I get that nobody likes to disappoint people. But let me tell you, setting boundaries isn't about rejecting others. It's about protecting yourself. It's about maintaining your integrity. If you constantly allow people to step over your limits, you begin to lose who you are. You forget what it feels like to stand in your own power, and eventually you end up in a place where you're drained, burned out, and disconnected from your own purpose. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn is that I don't owe anyone an explanation for setting my boundaries. The people who truly care for you will respect your space. They will understand that your time, your energy, and your emotions are valuable. And the ones who don't respect your boundaries, well, that's a sign that you need to rethink the relationship. Boundaries are a reflection of how much you value yourself. If you let people take from you without ever asking for anything in return, you're telling the world that you don't deserve to be treated with the respect you've earned. And that's not something you can afford. It's not easy. I know setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially when you're used to saying yes to everyone around you. But here's the thing. Discomfort is where growth happens. The more you practice setting boundaries, the more natural it becomes, and when you get comfortable with protecting yourself, you'll find that it's easier to say no when you need to, and yes to the things that matter most. You'll stop wasting time on things and people that drain you, and you'll start investing in the things and people that lift you up. Boundaries don't just protect you from others, they protect you from yourself. Sometimes the most toxic person in your life is you. Sometimes you're the one who pushes yourself too hard. You're the one who says yes when you should say no, who overextends yourself when you should be resting. Boundaries help you recognize your own limits, helping you avoid burnout, frustration, and exhaustion. They teach you to honor your needs as much as you honor the needs of others. Here's the hard truth. You will never please everyone. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. And that's okay. The people who matter will respect them. The people who don't are not meant to be in your life for long. You cannot keep giving pieces of yourself to people who don't have the respect or the capacity to care for those pieces. Remember, setting boundaries is not a weakness. It's a sign of strength. It's saying, I know who I am and I know what I need to be the best version of myself. It's protecting your heart, your peace, and your energy so that you can live a life that's true to you. And when you do that, when you protect your space and honor your limits, you give yourself the power to show up in the world as your best self. There's a power in focusing on what you can control that many of us overlook. In a world that constantly bombards us with expectations and distractions, it's easy to forget that you have the power to decide where your attention goes. And let me tell you, that's a game changer when you focus on the things you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your back action. You take back the power that's rightfully yours. So much of our lives are spent trying to control the uncontrollable. We worry about what people think. We stress over situations that are out of our hands, and we waste our time trying to fix things that can't be fixed. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. No matter how hard you try, it always slips through. But when you focus on what you can control, everything changes. You stop giving away your energy to things that don't serve you. You stop letting your peace be disturbed by things outside of your reach. And you start living a life of intention, not reaction. Now, this doesn't mean ignoring the world around you or pretending like you can isolate yourself from the chaos, but it does mean you stop letting the world dictate how you feel. You stop letting other people's opinions dictate your worth. You stop letting circumstances take away your joy. Instead, you choose to focus on what's inside of you, the things you can change, the things that you can influence. When you take control of your inner world, you stop letting the outer world control you. One of the most powerful things you can do is choose how you respond to situations. You might not have control over what happens to you, but you have complete control over how you respond. This is where true strength lies. It's in your response. The ability to choose your attitude, your thoughts, and your actions regardless of what's going on around you is the key to maintaining your peace and your power. Life will throw challenges at you, no doubt. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will shake you to your core, but how you choose to respond is what defines you. The power is in your hands. You also have control over your time. Time is one of the most precious resources we have. Yet, it's one of the easiest to squander. We spend so much time focusing on things that don't matter, on things we can't control, that we lose sight of what truly matters. But when you focus on what you can control, your goals, your priorities, your relationships, you begin to live a life that's meaningful. You stop getting caught up in distractions and start moving toward what you were made to do. Think about it for a moment. You can control your effort. You can control your commitment. You can control your focus. And when you align those things with your purpose, you begin to see your life change. But so often we get distracted by the noise, the opinions of others, the demands of society, the pressure to conform. We forget that we have the power to say no. We forget that we have the power to say, "This doesn't serve me. This doesn't align with my purpose." And when you make that choice, you stop living on autopilot. You stop reacting to everything around you, and you start acting with intention. One of the hardest lessons to learn is that we can't control the people around us. We can't make others behave the way we want them to. We can't make them see things our way. But what we can control is our response. We can control how much time and energy we invest in relationships that don't serve us. We can control how we show up for others. We can control how much we let people's actions affect us. When you stop trying to control others, you take back your power. You stop giving away your peace and your joy. And let me tell you, this is liberating. When you stop focusing on what you can't control and start focusing on what you can, you free yourself from the chains that have been holding you back. You stop living in frustration and start living in peace. You stop feeling like a victim of your circumstances and start feeling like a creator of your reality. This shift in perspective is everything. It's what changes the game. When you focus on what you can control, you begin to see progress in areas of your life where you once felt stuck. You start to make decisions that align with your values. You begin to take action that moves you closer to your goals. And with every step, you become more confident in your ability to create the life you desire. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for someone else to make the first move. You take control of your life, and you make things happen. At the end of the day, the only person you can control is yourself. You can't control other people's actions. You can't control what life throws at you, but you can control how you respond. And that, my friends, is where the power lies. So take a moment to ask yourself, what can I control today? What can I focus on? That will move me closer to the life I want. When you make that choice, you'll find that you're not just living, you're thriving. There's a reason why people talk about guarding your heart and mind. They're the most precious parts of you, and if you don't protect them, you'll find yourself giving away your peace, your joy, and your very identity. Imagine for a moment that your heart and mind are like a house. Would you leave the door wide open, inviting anyone and everyone to walk in and take whatever they wanted? Would you allow anyone to take up space in your life without knowing who they are or what their intentions are? No, you would guard your space. You would protect your home. And that's what you need to do with your heart and mind. You need to guard them as if your life depends on it. Because in a sense, it does. You see, the world has a way of trying to invade your personal space, mentally and emotionally. People will come into your life and try to plant seeds of doubt, fear, or negativity. They'll try to convince you that you're not enough or that you're not on the right path. They'll try to make you believe that your dreams are impossible or that your goals are too far out of reach. And if you're not careful, if you don't protect your heart and mind, you'll start to believe them. you'll start to let the voices of others drown out the voice that matters most, your own. That's why you have to be selective about who you let into your life and how much of your heart you give away. Not everyone deserves to know your deepest thoughts and feelings. Not everyone is capable of understanding the weight of what you carry or respecting the sacred space of your heart. And if you allow just anyone to enter that space, you risk giving away pieces of yourself that you'll never get back. Think about it. How many times have you let someone in only for them to betray your trust or disappoint you in ways that left you broken? How many times have you shared your hopes and dreams with someone who, instead of encouraging you, tried to tear them down? When you let your heart and mind remain unguarded, you make yourself vulnerable to those kinds of experiences. And while vulnerability has its place, it's important to recognize that not everyone deserves that kind of access to your innermost self. But guarding your heart and mind isn't just about keeping people out. It's also about controlling what you allow in. It's about deciding which thoughts you're going to entertain and which ones you're going to reject. We live in a world filled with distractions, negative influences, and voices that try to pull us in a million different directions. If you're not intentional about what you let in, you'll find yourself overwhelmed and exhausted by all the noise. The key is to filter what comes in. Protect your mind by choosing what you focus on. Protect your heart by choosing the people you allow to influence you. The more you guard your heart and mind, the more you'll protect your peace and your purpose. Now, I want you to understand something important. This isn't about building walls around yourself or isolating yourself from the world. It's about protecting your inner world so that you can show up as your best self when it matters most. When you guard your heart and mind, you stop allowing the world to shape your identity. You stop letting other people's opinions define who you are. You become the architect of your own life, and you build it on your own terms, and you own the terms of others. Let's talk about the power of silence for a moment. Sometimes we think that we have to share everything with everyone, that we have to explain ourselves, justify our actions, or seek validation. But there's strength in silence. When you keep certain things to yourself, you protect your inner peace. You don't have to explain everything you do or every decision you make. Not everyone needs to know your every move. There's a quiet power in being able to move through the world without needing to constantly share your thoughts, your struggles, or your plans. You can move in peace when you've decided that not everything needs to be shared. Guarding your heart and mind also means setting boundaries with the things you consume. It's not just about the people around you, but also about the information you take in the media, you expose yourself to, and the conversations you engage in. You have to decide what you'll allow to enter your mind. If you're constantly consuming negativity, fear, or doubt, it will affect how you see yourself and the world around you. But if you choose to fill your mind with positive, uplifting, and empowering thoughts, you'll start to see the world in a different light. You'll find that your confidence grows, your peace deepens, and your perspective shifts. But here's the thing. Protecting your heart and mind isn't something you can do passively. It requires effort. It requires being intentional about what you allow in and what you keep out. It requires choosing to rise above the negativity, the distractions, and the noise of the world. And it requires a commitment to yourself to always honor your own heart and mind, to keep them safe from the things that would try to steal your peace and your joy. So ask yourself today, what are you allowing to take up space in your heart and mind? Is it something that builds you up, or is it something that drains you? The answers you find will guide you in the direction of true strength. Strength that comes from guarding what matters most. You see, one of the hardest things to do is to stop seeking approval from others. So many of us spend our lives trying to please people, trying to win their affection, their validation, and their acceptance. But here's the truth. No matter how hard you try, you'll never be able to please everyone. It's impossible. And when you make pleasing others your goal, you lose sight of your own purpose. You lose touch with who you are and what you're meant to do in this world. You start living for the approval of others, and that never leads to fulfillment. Imagine how much energy we waste trying to earn the approval of people who will never see us the way we want them to. We put so much effort into trying to meet their expectations, and in the process, we neglect our own values, our own vision, and our own dreams. We let their opinions shape our reality, and before we know it, we've built a life that's not even our own. The truth is, you don't need anyone else's approval to move forward. You don't need anyone else's permission to live the life you've been called to live. You were created with a purpose, and your journey is yours alone. There's no one else who can walk it for you. You have to stop looking to others to tell you what you're capable of, and start looking within to find the strength and the wisdom you need to succeed. You're never going to get everyone on your side. Some people will never understand your vision. Some people will always criticize your decisions. Some people will try to tear you down because they're threatened by your potential. But that's not your problem. Their opinion of you doesn't define who you are. What defines you is what you believe about yourself, the choices you make and the actions you take every single day. When you stop seeking approval from others, you give yourself the freedom to be who you were always meant to be. You stop trying to fit into someone else's mold and start creating your own. When you learn to stop seeking approval, you start to embrace your uniqueness. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your worth based on their standards. And in that space, you find peace. You find confidence in knowing that you are enough just as you are. There's nothing more freeing than realizing that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You are already made in greatness, and you have everything inside of you to accomplish the goals you've set for yourself. Now, this doesn't mean that you should completely disregard the opinions of others. It's okay to listen to constructive feedback, to learn from others, and to grow from the insights that those around you have to offer. But there's a big difference between listening to advice and seeking validation. You see, when you seek validation, you're giving away your power. You're waiting for someone else to tell you that you're good enough, that you're worthy of success, that your dreams are worth pursuing. But when you stop seeking validation, you take your power back. You realize that you don't need anyone's permission to be great. You don't need anyone to give you the green light to move forward. Think about the times in your life when you've held back because you were waiting for someone's approval. Maybe it was a dream you didn't pursue because you were afraid of what others would think. Maybe it was a decision you didn't make because you were worried about disappointing someone. We all have moments like that. But the truth is, when you wait for approval, you delay your own progress. You waste time that could be spent taking action, moving toward your goals, and living out your purpose. When you stop seeking approval, you learn to trust your own judgment. You learn to make decisions based on what feels right for you, not based on what others think you should do. You begin to develop a deep sense of confidence in yourself and your abilities. And as that confidence grows, so does your success. When you stop living for the approval of others, you start living in alignment with your true self. You begin to take ownership of your life, and you stop letting other people's expectations control your actions. And let's be honest, living for the approval of others can be exhausting. It can leave you drained, disconnected, and unfulfilled. But when you live for yourself, when you follow your own path and trust your own instincts, you unlock a sense of freedom that can't be matched. You begin to feel lighter, more energized, and more alive. You stop running in circles, trying to meet everyone's expectations. Instead, you start running toward your own dreams, and that's where real joy is found. So ask yourself today, are you living for someone else's approval? Are you waiting for the green light from others before you pursue your dreams? If so, it's time to make a change. It's time to stop seeking validation from people who don't have the power to define your worth. It's time to start living for you, because when you do, you'll find that the approval you've been searching for has been inside of you all along. Your life is sacred. Your dreams are sacred. Your energy is sacred. And not everyone deserves access to the deepest parts of who you are. When you choose wisely what you reveal and what you reserve, you aren't being secretive. You are being wise. You are building a foundation where your peace cannot be disturbed by outside opinions or careless hands. Mystery is not about living in fear. It's about living in freedom, the freedom to move without explanation, to grow without interference, and to protect what God is doing inside you before the world tries to label it, judge it, or steal it. So walk boldly, walk wisely, and know this: your greatest victories will often be born in the quiet places no one else can see. And that is where true power lives.